Good evening, everyone. It is a tremendous pleasure to see everyone here tonight. I know we are going to deal with an extremely hot potato tonight, dealing with a very interesting challenge that many people experience in life when they get married. And I have to tell you that I have to say the truth. This is not an easy topic for me too, because I'm dealing with a lot of couples in my life, and dealing with marriage per se is one thing, but when you have to deal with an older generation, you have to accumulate completely different skills and methods and tools to play and to bring peace to this beautiful couple who are trying to purely starting a normal family. And those innocent people are very often facing this challenge of what we call in-laws, outlaws. But I want you to know something very interesting. I never knew to what extent this issue affect people. It's incredible. I had a student of mine. She used to live in Seattle. She was a high school student of mine. And I saw her here in LA many years after. She's about 26 years of age. So she came to me one day and she was very frustrated. And I said, you know, how is life? How is everything going on with you? And she said, can you believe that I'm still single? I said, you are single? Why are you single? I mean, come on. You are a wonderful person, and there is no reason why you should stay single. So she said to me this very offensive statement. She said, Rabbi, you should know that there are no normal men in Los Angeles. There are no normal men. And obviously I laughed a little bit and I tried to say, why do you feel this way? She said, listen, I'm here for 6 years in Los Angeles and I couldn't find one normal guy. So I said, here is the deal. Let me try to help you. Why don't you go home tonight? You write your profile, the dream boy, the dream profile of the guy you want to marry. And you send me this email. I'm going to try to help you because I know some guys. So to make a very long story short, because this is not the topic for tonight, she sent me an email that night. And I'm not exaggerating, and it's being recorded tonight. There were 3 pages email of requirements of the guy. 3 full pages of requirements. He needs to be smart, he needs to be this, he needs to be that. But that was not an issue. The fact that she wrote 3 pages, that was not an issue. The real issue was that I started laughing hysterically. It was on line 2nd. She said he needs to be smart, he needs to be successful, he needs to be educated. And you know what was on the 2nd line? I thought it was a mistake because English is not my first language. I opened a dictionary. She wrote, and he needs to be an orphan. I opened the dictionary to make sure that this is what it is. He should have no mother. She was so, and I called her up, she was so in deep trauma out of what the stories that she heard around of how mothers-in-law can be in people's life and how much it affects your life. So she decided, you know, to be in a safe side, it's better to be married to an orphan guy. But what we are going to discuss tonight, I promise you, that has enormous power to enhance the quality of life, even if your mother-in-law is still alive. Oh, I see the eyes blinking. Yeah, right. Sounds like a big promising, right? But here's the deal. Before we are going to discuss directly the topic of family involvement. By the way, family involvement does not have to be only mother-in-law. It can be anything around. The mother-in-law is the queen, but there are so many ramifications coming along with it. Sisters and sisters-in-law and all of the above. But before we are going to discuss directly this topic, I would like to use an introduction which I believe is extremely important, that without this introduction we're going to do injustice to the topic. Each and every human being in life, every single human being you see by your own physical eyes is being built out of three major components. Every single human being is being built by three major components. One of them is, and this is the easy one to change, is the behavior of the human being. When you see a type of behavior, when you see somebody that does something to you or says something to you, this is the appearance, this is the outside type of behavior. This is a very, very, very easy, if you have the right tools, to change. But there is a level deeper in a human being, and that has to do with the human's traits and characteristics. That means that sometimes a person can come to you and behave in a certain way. I'll give you an example, a simple example we all know. Somebody comes to you and scream and yell at you. Okay, he's very angry. He's very, very angry. So you look at him and you say, why are you angry? Come on, can't we solve it in a nice way? He will agree with you. He will agree with you that it's better to solve it in a nice, in a normal tonality. However, he's going to tell you, it's my nature. What can I do? That's my nature. You know the story with the frog and the scorpion? It's a very famous one. For some of you who don't know the story, this is what it goes. This is how it goes. They said that the frog and a scorpion met next to a river, and they both wanted to cross to the other side. So the scorpion went to the frog and he says, listen, I don't know how to swim. Would you please do me a favor and let me be on your back and you take me all the way to the other side? The frog said, what are you talking about? Are you out of your mind? Are you going to kill me? You're going to kill me? I'm not going to die for it? He said, listen, I'm not going to kill you. Use your logic. Use your common sense. Because if we're going to be on the way and I'm going to kill you, we're both going to die. So I don't want to die. So rest assured that I'm not going to do it to you. She said, okay, that's logic. Let's do it. So they go, and in the middle of the swimming, he gets the spock. And he said, why have you done it? Didn't you tell me we're both going to die? And the scorpion said, you're right, but that's my nature. That's my nature. There's nothing I can do about it. So the second part is the human nature that has to do with traits and characteristics that made us who we are. But there is a third, much deeper level of humanity, and that has to do with what we call the belief system or the values system. The values system and the belief system that people have are the core of humanity. And as easy as it sounds to change behavior of a person, and as a little bit more difficult that it sounds to change traits and characteristics, good luck to you to change a value system. Change values of life of people and belief system. And we're going to go into this. But in the world of values, there are many, many different values that people have, or people should wish to have, that we all have to agree that if a person doesn't have these values straight, he is still a normal human being that needs some work on it. For example, I'll give you an example. If we agreed that living in life by saying truth, when you meet people, tell truth to people. I give them it. We all agree. First of all, please raise your hand if you believe you can live life without saying a lie. Without lying, ever. Well, that says it all. That says it all. There's no way. You all agree, right? You know what? At least we all honest. I wouldn't put my hands up, okay? There is no way to live life and always, constantly say the truth, right? Even though we all agree that it's a great value, okay? And especially if you raise kids, one of the greatest things we teach our kids, we try at least, is to tell them, please tell mommy the truth. Say the truth. They're not chutzpahdik enough to look back to you and say, Daddy, Mommy, are you always saying the truth? You know, they're not yet, but when they grow up, we don't like when they speak up. But the reality is that even though saying the truth is a great value, if somebody does not speak truth all the time, okay, he or she needs to work on it. There are many other values, okay? We can use the value of being, this is a tough one, being unjudgmental and be tolerant towards people. It's a great value in life. But if somebody's lacking that value, is not a bad human being. Is still a person that has what we call in America a room of growth. But he's not a terrible human being. But there is, and this is the value I would like to discuss now, there is a value in life that according to the eyes of our sages, when a human being is lacking it, he has damage in the DNA of humanity. There is a value that if a person is lacking it, it's a huge value, it's a great value, that if a person does not acquire it to his own life, the damage is so deep because it touched the root of humanity. Could you try to guess what this value is? This value, called in Hebrew, and I want you to please inhale it as deep as you can. This value called in Hebrew, Hakarat Hatov. Hakarat Hatov means recognizing the goodness that someone ever did for you in any size, shape, and form. Hakarat Hatov, recognizing and acknowledging goodness that someone did for you, should be always part of your essence. Should be the leader of life to open our eyes and to be able to see, open our eyes wide open, and be able to focus on understanding and recognizing goodness that anybody did for us in any shape and form. Our sages sharing with us the story of one rabbi, just to illustrate a little bit how important this topic is. They said, we all know that in the Jewish law, it's mentioned in the Torah, that in the Jewish law, a judge, Dayan, should never accept bribe. Is that clear? We all agree? By the way, I do not believe this is only in the Jewish world. Probably in the secular world it's the same. It's common sense. If we're not too corrupted, bribe is something a judge should never accept. There was this rabbi that tried to be a little bit too smart about this topic. And he went to his rabbi and asked him the following question. He said, Rabbi, here's the deal. I know that the Torah said that I, as a dayan, I, as a judge, should never accept bribe. But I also know why. There is a reason behind that. And the reason is because the Torah does not want us to run a corrupted court system. And we have to live in a justice system. And therefore, when you take $10,000 from a guy, from one side, your heart will turn to his side. Does that make sense? That's what the Torah said. You shall not accept bribe. Because taking $10,000 from a person will turn your heart to his side. Does that make sense? But he said, Rabbi, here is my question. I know myself very well. And I know that I am capable to accept $10,000 from a person and feel nothing towards him. And I promise you, I swear, I can still have the court in justice. Because I am capable to take this $10,000 and my heart does not turn to him. I feel nothing towards this guy. So his rabbi looked at him straight to his eyes and he said, here is the deal, my dear. If you take $10,000 from a person and your heart turned to his side and you judge according to that feelings, you're evil because the Torah said you should not. This is evil. But you are an evil judge. But if you are capable to take $10,000 from a person and feel nothing towards him, you're just simply an animal. And an animal cannot be a judge to begin with. Being blind towards any human being on the planet that does something for us and we feel nothing towards them is a lack of a fundamental core system of humanity. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Now, when we have that in mind, I want to ask you a simple question. That this question is a huge debate, by the way, on this very topic, and I'm emphasizing this as an introduction to what we are going to speak tonight. Is recognizing the goodness and acknowledging a favor that someone did for you, is that a natural behavior or it's a behavior that you have to learn how to do? In other words, here is the deal. When we see someone who is recognizing the goodness, so we say like this: this is not natural to recognize the goodness somebody did for you, but this person is such a beautiful human being, such a special human being. He worked on himself and he acquired this trait, and now he can recognize goodness. Or we say no. Normally, naturally, people should be able to recognize goodness. And if you see someone who is not, he is abnormal. Because normally, naturally, you should be able to. It's a big debate. I'm not going to go into this in details. But you should know that the vast majority of philosophers believe that recognizing and acknowledging goodness somebody did for you, it's not natural. And there is a reason for it. A deep reason, but real one. Normal, natural human beings do not want to feel that they owe anything to anyone. I don't want to feel I owe you, because when I owe you, I'm under you. When I'm under you, I'm always going to look up to you, and I'm always going to have to say what you want and always do what you want me to do. I owe you. In a way, I am a little slave to you. I don't want that feelings. Normal human being naturally will fight against that. Believe it or not, to the extent that sometimes people don't understand why you can do a favor to someone and he's paying you back in a negative way. Somebody said an interesting line. He said about his friend, he said, I don't understand why he doesn't like me and why is he fighting me? I never did a favor to him. Because when you do a favor to someone, somehow, somewhat, he will do something to come back to level, to balance with you. So making a favor to someone should not be a natural expectation for us to get something good back. Now, let me ask you a question. When we go to our parents how easy it is to recognize the goodness that our parents did for us. How easy it is. When you look back to what our parents did to us, how difficult it is to recognize the goodness, to be mokir tova to what our parents did for us. Obviously, it's pretty simple and easy to believe that our parents are the people that it's the most difficult to pay them back for what they did for us. Think about it. Somebody gives you $100, somebody gives you $1,000. Don't you owe him some recognition of goodness and gratitude and appreciation? $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, whatever the number is. Somebody gave you life. Somebody gave us life. Parents, wear your glasses right now and look at your parents. Our parents gave us life, literally life. Hundreds and thousands of hours and days and weeks and years that they invested into us. How many nights our mothers missed because we were cranky as babies and as little kids. How much money they spent on us. How much time and effort and sweat they spend on us. And we should know that we owe our parents, as simple as it sounds, we owe our parents the utmost respect and recognition and gratitude to what they did for us. This is black and white. Unless we feel so terrible within ourselves that we cannot do it. But ultimately, I mean, if you are parents, you know it. As parents, when you raise kids, how much effort it takes to raise a little child. Not to mention raising a teenager, that you deserve a Nobel Prize for doing that. Nobel Prize for doing that. Raising kids, raising teenagers. Somebody said an interesting line. He said, do you know what's the definition of a grandchild? The definition of a grandchild is the gift God gave you to the parents for not killing their kids when they were teenagers. It's a whole lot. If you never experienced that, let me tell you firsthand. It's a very, very hard work. It's an enormous patience. It's enormous expense. It's a lot of work. Now what happens when we grew up and we look back to our parents, we calculate right away that it's impossible. Can we really, truly pay them back? There's no way to pay them back. And we should know that this is a major, major point that we have to learn. Our parents, by the way, no matter what kind of parents you have, unconditional parents, whether you love them or not, whether you are angry at them or not, your parents deserve, our parents deserve the utmost respect out of any question. I mean, when you look back in the Talmud, in the Gemara, in the stories that's being mentioned there, it's frightening. Frightening to see what kind of behavior some of the Hachamim, some of our sages had towards their parents. One of the famous one was Rabbi Tarfon. The Gemara said the story. Rabbi Tarfon used to honor his mother to no limit degree. To the extent that one time on Shabbat, they were walking on Shabbat and her shoes was ripped off and she couldn't wear the shoe anymore. So he went under Rabbi Tarfon, one of the greatest Hachamim in his time, in the time of the Mishnah, and he put his hands under her leg and walked her all the way home. That's kibud avayim. That's honoring your parents. It's one of the 10 commandments. The Gemara said that the mother of Rabbi Tarfon came to the Bet HaMidrash one time and she said, do you know how much my son Rabbi Tarfon is honoring me? Do you have an idea to what degree he respects me? And they asked her, what's the big deal? What does he do? She told them the story and they said to her back, Mama, with all due respect, Rabbi Tarfon, the genius Rabbi Tarfon, did not even come close to. Do you know to whom? To Esav, Yaakov's brother. Yeah, the evil one that we all like to curse. Esav, the evil brother of Yaakov Avinu, was wearing the biggest crown on earth in honoring his parents. Do you know to what degree? Just one quick thing. You know that Esav, every time he served his father or mother, he had a special clothing? A royal clothing to honor his parents. But Esav was another giant in honoring our parents, and the Torah emphasized it in so many ways, the importance of giving respect to our parents. And here comes the biggest, the loudest, however, that I want you to know. Even though we have to respect our parents, we have to recognize the goodness they for everything they give to us. Here is the however you were looking for. You were waiting for with a lot of patience. However, the biggest mistake people made in the concept of honoring our parents is that nobody ever bothered to define what respect means. Let me ask you a question. Across the board, if you disagree with me, please let me know. What do you think the Torah believes if you are a 30 years old man, or a woman for that sake, doesn't make a difference, and you are an adult and you decided to start a business as, I don't know, real estate business. That's what you like. That's what you know, that's what you understand, that's what you do. You pick up the phone, you call mom or dad or whatever it is. Mom, dad, I want you to know I have some exciting news to you. What is that exciting news? Listen, I am starting my new business in real estate. I'm about to buy some buildings, and I'm going to make an unbelievable business. And your father has some weakness to shoemaker business. He loves shoemakers. Don't ask me why. That's your father. Ask him. And he tells you, son, you're making a terrible mistake. I do not want you to go to real estate business. It's bad. You need to become a shoemaker. You're my son, you should do what I want. How many of you believe, with the right mind, of course, that this son needs to listen to his father? Nobody. We are all in agreement. That's beautiful. How many of you believe that by not listening to your parents on this issue, you're disrespecting them? Nobody. So if your father tells you to start a different business, do you have to listen to him? Yes or no? You want to go to school to become an attorney. Your father said, no. You got to go to become a doctor. No, but I want to be an attorney. No, you got to be a doctor. Do you have to listen to your father? You see that there is a very, very clear distinction between the two. As important as it is to honor and respect our parents, it has clearly nothing to do with any kind of illusionary obligation to listen to what they want me to do in my life. It's very, very simple, set in stone. And by not listening to my parents of what I should do in my own life, we are not being disrespected. It does not fall under the category of being disrespect or disrespectful. If you look, I challenge you, if you look across the board in the Jewish law, in any Jewish book on earth, you will never find anybody that says that you need to listen to your parents. As a matter of fact, if you are about to get married You're about to get married. Very simple. And your parents insist, we'll talk about it in a second why they do, but they insist you shall not marry this girl, or vice versa. Do you have any obligation in any world to listen to them? You have zero obligation to listen. And I'm talking about obligation. You have no obligation to listen to your parents. Whether you want it or not is a different story. I'm talking about obligation. I'm talking about the concrete, fundamental concept of respect. A lot of people are being confused between honoring and respecting a person than listening to what they tell me to do in my life. This is the clear distinction we have to have in life. Because we have to understand marriage is nothing but another profession. To be married is a profession. If you don't know it, if you disagree with that, you're simply not married. Being married and successfully married require enormous skills. A lot of knowledge, a lot of training to be able to manage life in a proper way, in marriage, in relationships. It takes a lot of work. And there are many things that you need to know that if you're not educated about it, you're going to fail. So as much as our parents are not doctors, and we don't go for medical issues to my parents, and as much as we don't go to them as for legal advice, we don't go to them for business advice if this is not their field, we don't go for any issue that we have in marriage to our parents. Because we have no obligation whatsoever to listen to them. Now, when we are discussing this issue of parents and family involvement in marriage, there are usually two categories. The category number one is when you're usually happened prior to marriage, pre-marriage, when your parents hears for the first time that you have a boyfriend/girlfriend. Very often you will hear a comment after the parent sees the new family member, the new potential family member. Very often you will hear comments, "My dear son, you're an amazing boy. She is just not for you." All of a sudden, in case you didn't know it before, your mom became a prophet. She became prophet to tell you very clearly, with a lot of confidence, "My dear son, listen to me. Nothing good will happen from this girl. Nothing. She is no good." Mom, what did you see? "My dear, you deserve better. You simply deserve better. It's not for you." "Mom, what did you see? You have no idea. With my 10,000 years of experience in life, I can tell you," in a Moroccan way, I don't know how many Moroccans do you know, but in a Moroccan way, there was never a conversation about we want this girl or we don't. There was a physical move in the body. Do you know what it was? This is it. And if you did not understand that, deep Moroccan, heavy-duty Moroccan would do this. There is no need to talk. There is absolutely no need to talk. When your mother comes to you, she said to the son, "This girl is not for you." Don't even dare to question, "Look at me. My eyes never lied." For some reason, your mom graduated a prophecy school you never heard about. This is prior to marriage. And by the way, vice versa. It happens in many, many, many different versions. The second department that parents are getting involved is after you get married. After you get married, and you hear all those comments, why your wife is not the one. Is not the one. "Mom, do you want me?" I would like to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Tzvia Imbar. Thank you so much for coming. Brucha haba, welcome. very often after you're married already and you believe that you're running a normal life with your wife, you will hear comments. And again, it doesn't have to be comments by words. It can be comments by so many different ways. By the way, communication does not have to contain words. Communication comes from so many different ways. To tell you exactly how I feel about your wife. And this is a big tragedy. A lot of people have. A lot of people experience that. After you're married. So the question is, how do we deal with this? By the way, it's very, very important if you are not married or you are at the beginning of your marriage to pay close attention to your mother-in-law, because sometimes you might see things but you don't know how to interpret it. Sometimes you see some signs that you are not able to get your finger on it and to be able to really read the address on the wall. I will never, never forget it. I would love to share it with you. There was this couple, a true story happened in my house. A young couple came to my house with a huge smile on their face. Rabbi, we have to break the news to you. We are getting married. Wow, that's beautiful. My ultimate reaction, the always reaction that I have, I said, you decided to do what? We decided to get married. I asked the question, why? What's wrong in your life? Why do you want to get married? What is not working now that you need to get married? Rabbi, I love her. You love her? Stay with her. Live with her. Why do you need to get married? Why do you need contract? No, we need, to bring kids to the world. All of a sudden, people understand that there is no way to bring kids to the world unless you're married legally or halachically or whatever it is. And they decided to get married. With this couple, I went a little bit further. And by the way, I love doing this. I love pushing my luck to the ultimate degree. So I looked at her and I said, tell me something. Do you know how many guys live in Los Angeles? Plenty, thousands, right? What did you find in him that you really liked? Why do you want to marry him? And this is what she told me. She said, Rabbi, you don't understand. My fiancé is an amazing human being. He's such a family-oriented person. That was her words. He's a very family-oriented person. You have to see, as if I needed to hear that line, she said, you have to see how he treats his mother. He loves his mother. You know how I respect her? She is his life. And she's talking about her future mother-in-law, and I was about to faint. She's constant. She said, you have no idea what kind of a person he is. He loves his mother. His mother is the whole world for him. So I turned to him and I said, is your mom the whole world for you? He said, absolutely. Absolutely. My mom is the smartest human being God ever created. I was ready to give them a get before they get married. And I did not know, I'm very, very honest with you. I did not know what to do because I am not in this universe to break marriages. Okay? I was not born to this world to destroy marriages. They're coming to you very excited, but and you see something. You see something terrible going to happen. And you cannot tell them the truth. And I tried to continue. I said, is your mom really, really the best human being on earth? He said, absolutely. I said, let me ask you a question. If your mom will ever be in conflict with your wife's decision, let's say your wife and you decided to live in Los Angeles, and your mom wants you to live in Chicago, for whatever reason, Chicago, whatever it is. Your mom wants you to live in Israel. Are you going to listen to your mom or to your wife? What do you think he said? He said, I will convince my wife that my mom is right. True story. True story. I will convince my wife that my mom is right. I said, why would you do that? Why won't you convince your mom that your wife is right? He said, my mom never made a mistake in her life. to be very, very honest with you, I tried to push it to the right, to the left, to give glasses to this girl to see what she is going to enter into. Didn't help. One thing I did, I have to admit, I refused the wedding. I didn't do the wedding. Another rabbi did. If I could keep the recording of her phone call to me 3 months afterwards. By the way, they're divorced today. This marriage survived 3 months. A little longer than I expected, because I did not believe that his mother will be such a quiet lady for 3 months. But she called me up, this girl, 3 months later. She said, Rabbi, was there a reason you did not do our wedding? I said, I don't know, you tell me. She said, I'm getting divorced. I said, why? She said, I believe my husband should marry his mom. And thank God she was on the phone and not seeing me. If she would see my facial expression when she said that, like I was dying to say, I was ready to tell you. It's pretty clear. It's pretty clear. When you say, when you see the picture in front of you and you refuse to interpret the picture in a proper way. Now, to do justice, if you really want, I would like to move into a little bit more practice of practical ideas of how can we deal, as we say in Arabic, tachlis, bottom lines. If you are married and you have an issue with in-laws, how would you deal with them? Do you know what would be the first rule? When you want to deal with any human being, and I have to tell you, this is something I learned in my life coach course by Dr. Tzvia Inbar, who she is here. She was my mentor, she is my mentor, my teacher, my professor, whatever you want to call her. She deserves, with the zchut and not behesed. If you want to deal with any human being on earth, the first thing you want to do is to try to see life through their glasses. You want to deal with your parents, you want to deal with your in-laws, try to see how they see the world. What is their perspective? And try to understand them in order to be able to deal with them. Now, and I would like to do this now, even though there are always exceptions to the rule, even though there are so many different people, so many different circumstances and reasons and backgrounds behind that, I would like to mention a few things. If I have to go to court and be the attorneys to protect mothers-in-law, I would like to try to talk about a few ideas that maybe will help us to understand where they're coming from and then how to deal with it. We have to understand, I can tell you something. I am going to tell you now something that is coming from being a son of my parents and being a parent of a married child. Okay? I have a daughter who is married, Baruch Hashem, with a child, and I'm talking from this perspective as well. We need to understand that there is something about marrying off a child which is apparently an unfair story. Very unfair. Because think about it. You are the parent, or let's talk about our parents. You look at your mom, you are the son, you look at your mom, and she carried 9 months of pregnancy with you. Would you call it an investment? Would you call it a sacrifice? I did something for you, I carried you. And then after she carried you, she gave birth to you. If you don't know what it means, go to a delivery room. If you want to learn how to appreciate your wife, if you are not appreciating her enough, go to a delivery room. We all understand, we all agree that when a lady, a mother, a wife carries your baby and she is going to give birth to your child, she deserves the utmost respect and honor and love. And any man who disagree with that should carry a pregnancy for 24 hours. Then we'll talk. Okay? No, but your baby is going to stay. Well, we're talking about a baby that goes. We have to learn to appreciate, to understand that. So your mother did it, and she gave birth to you. She missed nights of sleep and fed you and take care of you, etc. Let's say you're getting married in 25 years of age. There is 25 years of investment. There is. Would you call it a deep investment? Most definitely. 25 years, 30 years, whatever your age is, that she invested in you. She is the primarily caregiver to your life, and she gave you anything. I made you who you are. This is the only true statement with your mom. And 25 years later, you meet a girl, hopefully beautiful one, and you start a date with her, and you get engaged. This girl did nothing to you, invested zero in you. If anything, she gets from you. And your mom sitting at home and hears you on the phone talking to her. Hey, sweetheart, how are you, darling? I love you to death. Your mom can die, will never hear these words. How many mothers can hear those words? I love you so much. When I go to sleep, I dream about you. Hello? To this little girl, little nobody? You know her for 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it is. You know her. She did nothing for you. I mean, think business for a moment. Really, think math for a moment. Your mom gave you 25 years, 30 years of investment, and all of this being sold for no price to a beautiful girl you just met. Is that a good reason for mothers to be frustrated? We have to understand mothers till tomorrow, they are human beings. They're normal human beings. If I invest something in anything for 30 years and somebody just come and takes it for zero effort, zero sacrifice, it makes sense to understand, again, not to justify what they do, but to understand. This is the most important thing, to understand where they're coming from. What do they see? What do they see that bothers them? Okay, before you are trying to crush it and to destroy their feelings, we have to be honest with ourselves and to relate to these feelings. The second thing is, the second challenge parents have is, I know it sounds bad, but it's okay. How many in percentage? What is the percentage that you believe that people are married for 25 years and they're happy? Yeah. How many people married for 25 years, and what I mean by happy is very simple. They're waking up in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, turning to the other side of bed and see their wives, and they say to themselves, bingo! My life would never be normal without this girl. 25 years of marriage, how many percentage of marriages would you say are capable of saying that? 10%. I asked a very good friend of mine, a psychologist, actually he's a psychiatrist here in town in LA, and I asked him this very question, and he told me there were 2 couples, but they died in the Holocaust. No, I'm exaggerating. It was a joke. But you know somebody, it's very nice that you know somebody. But how many, seriously now, how many people are simply happy? And I'm not talking about sophisticated definitions of happiness, simple happiness. Like you wake up in the morning, you turn to the other side, and you're happy. You're very happy, very rarely. Having that in mind, you have to understand that they're unhappy 25 years later. But do they remember the time that they were dating and having a good time? They remember that. Do you know what reminds them the most? what their life used to be and what their life is today? The before and after pictures, do you know what reminds them? When their son is dating a girl and they see the lights, the sparks that coming out of their eyes. And they say, I don't know how to say it in Yiddish. In Arabic, they say, Ya hasra. Do you know what Ya hasra means? It's a big word. Ya hasra in Arabic means, where are those days? Where are those days that my husband used to chase after me? That my husband used to put some notes in the kitchen and my bed, surprise me with some gifts. Those days are dead. And when your mom sees you as the son, reinventing love and excitement and butterflies, it's not simple for her to handle that. Because it's nothing but a mirror to her, what her life looks like today. My point is two words: be sensitive. We have to be very, very sensitive. And if she feels she made some mistakes in life, the reason why your mom is on top of you is she doesn't want you to make the same mistakes she did. And this is a very, very common thing that people don't like. You know, I don't know anybody who is single in this room, but it's very common that you see people who are married that going to young people who are not married and not dating even, and they say, no, when are you going to settle? No, when are you going to get married? All adults, mothers and fathers sometimes too, are coming to young people who are still smiling and having a good time in their life, and it bothers them, and they go to them and say, no, when are you going to get married? No, when are we going to dance for you? No, when are we going to drink for you? And I was always wondering, what is the motivation behind this encouragement? Because there are two ways. Either they're so happy in life, their life is such a paradise life, they feel bad you don't have it. There is another option, that they got into this golden cage called marriage, and they are so deep in it, and there is no way out, and they feel terrible that you're smiling. They feel terrible that you're not in. And they try to convince you, get in. Why do I have to suffer by myself? Yeah, I get in. The more people we are in the club, the less pain we have. As they said in Israel, one of the comedians in Israel said, I don't understand why they put a wall around the cemetery. He said, look, those who are inside cannot go out. Those who are outside don't want to get in. So what do you need? Not to compare, God forbid, marriage to cemetery. There is some similarity, but not quite. But this is the same idea. Why do you try to encourage people? You have to know that people who are already there, especially parents, they're very sensitive to their own mistakes, and they don't want you to make the same mistakes. So when they're warning you, they're not coming from a bad place. They're coming from a real good, loving place that try to prevent you from making the same mistake they did. There is another category of parents who are trying to help you to marry right. It's because, believe it or not, there are parents that if you are not marrying the right person, that he will not be accepted in the society, in their group of friends. It's not to their ego. They're going to try, on a very personal ego reason, to destroy your marriage. Because you have to be married to a doctor. You have to be married to an educator. You have to be to an educated person. You have to be married to a certain person. Because deep down, if you married to a, God forbid, please don't say it out loud, if you, God forbid, getting married to a teacher, make sure nobody knows. Because it's not in the prestige of our family. So mom, dad, do you want to destroy my love, my life, because she's not fitting into your high caliber status? Truth is, you'll be surprised, yes. It gets even deeper. And sometimes I don't know what to say, whether it's funny or extremely sad. You know that there are many, many communities in the world that people have problem if you are not married the right person from the right city. If you are Moroccan, I can talk about Moroccan people. If you're Moroccan, you know that there are people in Morocco that feel superior than the others. It's pretty simple. If you go to any Moroccan person, he'll tell you that Morocco has two cities. One is Meknes, and the other one is all the rest. People who born and raised in Meknes, in that city, they are very important people. We are superior. Do you believe there are people who feel superior? There are people like that. There are people in every culture that feel superior. And if you are not going to marry someone from our culture, from our families, from our tradition, so to speak, this is not he or she is not qualified. And I'm not talking about if you live in Morocco and if you are living in the mountains. Don't say that. Don't say that. You are going to put your life at risk. I don't know if you're familiar with the word, but in Arabic they call it shluh. You know, shluh are the people from the mountain. And shluh is not just a place. It's a concept. It's a term. You know, don't listen to him. He's just a shluh. What does that mean? It can be an educated person. It can be smart. It can be beautiful, great traits and characteristics. But it's shluh. It's from there. We don't touch. We don't talk to these people. And it applies to any culture, in the Persian culture, in the Iraqi culture, in any culture, in an Ashkenazi culture, in every culture in the world. You have to know that there are some people that have some kind of prestige feelings about who they are or where they came from. The next thing is that creates also a lot of, and that I can tell you also from a parent of a married daughter. This is a very big challenge, not only in marriage, but it applies to marriage a lot because it's more common. You have to know that if you see any human being that is going to make a mistake, you see it's a mistake, whatever business you are in, okay? Let's say you are in, I don't know, whatever. You're in medical, you're in law, you're in business, you're whatever. And you see, I think in English they call him a rookie, somebody who just started. You know he's going to make a mistake. You know it's a mistake from your own experience, and you know your child. It is very, very difficult to stay quiet when you see someone that's very dear to you that is going to fail. Somehow, because of our natural desire to protect our kids, we are forcing our opinion on them because we know they are going to make a mistake. And when we know that they are going to make a mistake, it's impossible to be quiet. If you are going to marry this girl, you are going to fail in your marriage. And if in their eyes it's a mistake, it's very difficult for them to be quiet. So, my point is that when you hear any kind of comment pre-marriage or during marriage from our parents that are trying to interfere in our relationship, the first thing we have to do, as I said, is to understand where they're coming from. And to show some kind of compassion and understanding and some tolerance to their comments. And to understand that they are not bad people. We have to know. One of the major challenges in this kind of interaction is coming from the fact that we used to the following concept. We used to the concept that good people are doing good things to us. People who loves me will desire the best for me. People who are good people are doing good deeds. People who are dead people, bad people, are doing bad things to people. In this particular structure, parents are the only, this is the first time we meet it, we see it, that parents are the people that are good people, coming out of love and can destroy our lives. This is the first time that somebody can destroy your life out of love. And it's a true love. But they have power to destroy your life. So all we have to do, as I said, the first step is A, show sympathy to their feelings. Understand that they're not bad people. Understand that they are trying their best to help you in their own perspective, in their own view of life. The second thing is, we have to remember that raising children is very similar to raising parents. Meaning to say that when you raise a child, this is a long topic called the button language. The button language is when your son is coming to you to say, Mom, I want a piece of candy. I want chocolate, whatever. And you don't want to give him this chocolate because he needs to eat dinner first. What do you usually say? You eat dinner, you're going to get it. No, I want it now. You say no. Mommy said no. What do you think this child is going to try to do? Huh? No, he doesn't have it. He needs it from you. He's going to start to beg you, please, Mommy, come on. That's a button language. He's pushing, right? He's pushing another button. Maybe that's going to work. Now, if by him starting to beg you and change his tonality, it affects you, he's going to stop there. Because he knows to get something from Mommy when she disagreed, you need to beg, could you please? Now, if you're a strong mother and you said no, he's going to start to another button, and that is crying. Mommy, I never had it. Plays with and manipulating your heart. I never had chocolate for the past 2 months, and you always give to my sister, and you never give to me. He's going to try to manipulate you. The only point your son will stop is at the point that he understands that he runs out of buttons. He is so lucky to have the most stubborn mother on earth. Now, if you stop on the third button by crying, do not be surprised that the next time he's going to go directly to this button because it's the most effective button. It works. Everything in life is buttons. You go to a girl and you say, hey, I love you, you're so beautiful. That's a button. Do you think really he loves her? He knows what he can get by these words. So it's a button. Everything in life is buttons. Whatever you push, and you see what the result of this button is. We have the same idea with our parents. Same idea. After we understand our parents and we really have compassion to their feelings, we have, and I'm using a bad word, and it's okay, we have to train them. To train them in a way that we listen to you, we respect you, we love you truthfully, honestly, without playing games now. And we admire who you are. But when it comes to our lives, in the end, we do what we want. We sit husband and wife, and we discuss whatever is the best for us. That's what we're going to do. No screaming, no yelling, no being disrespectful, but you train them from the back door that in the end of the day, it's not against them. You do what you want to do. You sit with your husband, you sit with your wife, and you discuss what is the best we need for our life. I know what your mom wants. I know what my mom wants. I know what your dad wants. I know what my dad wants. The ultimate question is what's good for us? What good for us will determine our actions in life. But again, without being disrespectful, but we have to train them to the extent that after 3, 4, 5 buttons pushing, the parents will realize that there is no point to give them advice. They don't listen anyways. In the end, they do whatever they want. When they're going to get to this point, you won the game. You won your independency. And being independent, running our own life as a husband and wife and a family is the ultimate goal we need to pursue in everything we do. Now, before we conclude this point, I would like to add one more point to do justice to our parents again. We need to know that there is a great, enormous value to elders' advice. People who are, I don't care from where, from all walks of life. People who are older than us, by all means, are wiser. Now again, what I mean by saying wiser, people that have more experience, they don't have to be doctors. They don't have to be more educated than you. They simply have to be here longer. There are so many beautiful advice. There are so many great things that elders people can see, people with simply more experience in life, that they can see that we in a certain age cannot see. We have to understand that this is a very valid point. Anybody who is longer than you here has a bigger perspective in life simply because of his or her experience. And very often you hear ideas from elders, people who are much older than you, that you might be very surprised, how didn't I think this way? And yes, there are some wisdom, there is some wisdom that comes by age. And I'm going to give you a quick story that made a tremendous impact on me on this very particular issue, but not only because he's older, by far greater than just older, but also a giant human being. A few years ago, I was in a wedding in Mexico. And the wedding was during the day. It was a 1 p.m. wedding. Beautiful, beautiful wedding. And in this wedding was the chief rabbi of Israel, and I don't know if you know him, the Rishon LeZion, Rabbi Shlomo Moshe Ammar, who is my unbiological father. Literally, unbiological father. So I went to the wedding, and he had a suite in the hotel, and a young couple came to me in the wedding. They saw that I'm very close to him. So they came to me and they said, could you please help us to have an appointment with the rabbi tonight in his room? I said, with pleasure. Shouldn't take a big deal, with pleasure. I said, what's the issue? And the wife told me, listen, I'm suffering tremendously in the past 2 years. I don't know what's wrong in my life. You know, I have a car accident every other week, and a snake came to my house, and my library fall on me. I don't know, something is wrong in my life. And she started to give me the whole story, and she was crying, and she was in such pain, impossible to believe. I said, listen, come to the hotel at 9 p.m. I'll get you to the room. I had no idea what the schedule is, if the rabbi had meetings, but I trusted my connection with him, and I'll get her in. I go to the hotel at 8:30, 40 people in the suite. 40 people in the room. One group. One group. And the rabbi was in another room taking an interview for whatever it's called, TV Azteca, I don't know, whatever it's called in Mexico, and the TV channel in Mexico. And he was in the other room on the other side of the floor. So I see I'm in trouble. For these 40 people, I have a meeting with the rabbi now. It's going to take forever. So I went to them and I said, guys, I have a question for you, please. There is a couple that needs to see the rabbi. The wife is in a very big pain, and she needs to see him a few minutes before your meeting. Your meeting will take a long time. Do you mind if she sees the rabbi before this meeting? Absolutamente, no problem. Anything you say, Latin America, beautiful people, no problem. I go to the other room. The moment the rabbi finished his interview, he gets out of the room, and I said to him, Hacham, I have a request, please. There is this woman with a very, very deep pain. She's suffering. She has a terrible, terrible feelings in her life. She needs to see you. I know you have a meeting with this group, but I spoke to them, and they agreed. Do you mind, Hacham, to see her first 10 minutes? Just see her for 10 minutes, then go to the meeting. So he was walking with me on the hallway, and he turned to me and he said, no. I said, Hacham, 10 minutes? No. I have this relationship with him as a father and as a king at the same time. So when he says no, no means no. I don't ask why, I don't ask anything, but he said no. We're walking a few steps further, and he looked at me with a very interesting smile, excuse me, and he said, you probably wonder why I said no, right? I said, Hacham, if you want to voluntarily give me an answer, I would love to. I don't understand why, but I don't ask questions. If you said no, you know why no. I said, let me tell you something. Remember what you told me about this woman? You told me that this woman is in a very deep pain, and she was crying to you, and she's suffering in life. And you want me to speak to her for 10 minutes before this meeting. Let me tell you something. If you want to be a rabbi, you need to learn that. Don't you ever, ever give 10 minutes to a woman who is in pain. What's going to happen after 10 minutes? What am I going to tell her? Your time for crying is up. He said, I will deal with these people, and then I will speak to her for as long as she needs. Don't you ever put a time limit on a person who is in pain. And there are so many other anecdotes like that, that you say to yourself, I didn't see that, and I don't consider myself a stupid person, but I did not think this way. I said to myself, what's the big deal? 10 minutes, come on, 10 minutes. No. There are, when you listen to your parents, when you listen to adults, when you listen to elders, please keep in mind that there are so many amazing advice that they might give you from their wisdom that can only be earned by time, by experience in life. So the conclusion is, please understand that if your parents or in-laws or outlaws, as we call them today, are trying to get involved in your life, they are very, very normal. B, they are not coming from a bad place. They are coming from a good heart and a true desire to help you while they're going to destroy your life. But they are coming from a good place. Please learn to train yourself to listen to what they say, and in the end of the day, do what you want to do. Hear what they have to say out of a deep and truthful respect. If what they said to you match or fit what you and your husband, you and your wife agreed on, why not? Take their advice. There's a lot to learn from them. And ever, ever in your life, never in your life being disrespect, even if you do not want to do what they say. And by not doing what they said, you are not being disrespectful. And whatever wisdom points you can hear from them, learn to adapt and to discuss it with an open heart. Do not just reject it because your mom said so. And one last advice to men. Very important advice to men. If you happen to be on the phone with your mom and your mom said something about your wife, under no circumstances you are obligated to tell that to your wife. If your mom called you and tells you something about your wife, by the name of the truth, you're absolutely not obligated to go to your wife and say, do you know what my mom said? My mom was surprised that you did not cook today. My mom said that, you don't take care of me. If that's what your mom said, keep it to yourself, swallow it, and you don't have to say anything. What did your mom tell you on the phone? Oh, she said how much she loves you. You have my permission to lie. Because very often, by sharing these pieces of information, unnecessary pieces of information, we are creating much more troubles than what your mom ever tried. So even if you hear something that doesn't register and it's not a good music to your ears about your wife, protect your wife by not sharing it. And if you ever believe that in a relationship between husband and wife, we must be able to share everything, think again. If you really believe you can share everything like all naive people believe, file a divorce before you get married. It's going to happen. Sometimes you have to keep things for yourself and to know where to put the boundaries of, we don't have to share everything. The only thing you're obligated to share is any words that were said or about to be said that are positive about each other. And the more you as a man learn to protect your wife, when I said to protect, it's to the unlimited degree, to protect your wife from any negative waves coming from the other side, you have the utmost obligation to take care of your wife and to understand that there is absolutely new life by getting married, and now you're married to this woman, and whatever is agreed between you both, it's what goes. There is a definitely good reason why when God in the Torah describes the concept of marriage, he said the following words: when you as a man about to get married, you should learn. Al ken ya'azov ish et aviv ve'et imo ve'davak be'ishto. The only precondition to marriage is when men learned to disconnect one more time from the stomach of his mother and disconnect for the second time to be able to be available physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally to the new wife. Any baggage, any luggage that you bring with you from your prior life, from your past life, should be eliminated and to be worked only based on an open heart agreement between husband and wife. Thank you so much.